Hello, and welcome to the Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge 2025, the January case. We're not in Kansas anymore, the Varsity edition brought to us by Harry Gross. And the case design team of David Brown, Chris McNeil, Eric Kelly, and Gina Nicolosi. I am Fritz Burkhardt from Norwich University, and we are going through this case today. We've got Dorothy, a girl from Kansas, who's been swept up in a tornado and landed in a place called Oz. She will embark on an epic journey to return home via the yellow brick road. Our goal is to help Dorothy return home by answering questions related to the yellow brick road and by defeating the Wicked Witch of the West. Now, we want to score a bunch of points, so let's go and hit some of these bonus questions first. The first question which is posed to us is how many bricks are on the yellow brick road? We see we've got the yellow brick road a couple sheets down, so we're going to press Control page down twice and get a look at our yellow brick road. If we want to highlight all of this with Shift and the down and right arrows, we see that it highlights pretty darn quickly. We've got 336 right here based upon our count, and the fact that it highlighted so quickly gives us an idea that we've got some merged cells that we're going to have to deal with in this particular case. It's a little gross, but this case was brought to us by Harry Gross. So how many bricks are there on the yellow brick road? We can count this. Hey, that's just going to be 336. Or we could use a count, come to the yellow brick road here, and we want to count all of these particular ones. Hey, it's also 336. The next one asked us to sum the odd numbers in each road of the yellow brick road. What's the highest sum of odd numbers across the rows? So let's take a quick look at this data. Well, if we just want to sum things across the rows, we can easily just do a sum on here. But what we're interested in is not all the numbers. We're interested in just the odd numbers. So rather than using sum, let's actually use SUMPRODUCT. SUMPRODUCT is an absolutely amazing function which allows us to put in more than one array. And the first array I'd like to put in is the one which we actually have with all of these numbers. What I'd like to do is make it so we're only taking the odd numbers. And if we only want to take the odd numbers, what I'd like to do here is make it so, hey, I'm going to a 1 for 181, 0 for 44, and that way I'm going to multiply 181 times 1, 44 times 0, and I'm only going to add up the odd numbers. So I'm going to use the mod function. I'm going to use the mod function. I'm going to point to all of these, and the divisor is going to be 2. So what mod does, when it takes 181, it divides it by 2, and it gives us the remainder. The remainder of 181 divided by 2 is just going to be 1. And so if we put those in together, it's just going to multiply those odd numbers by 1 and the even numbers by 0. I'm going to copy all of this down with Control C, holding the Shift key down, and then pressing the down arrow a bunch here. And we're looking for the highest one, which I can see is 1920. But I'm just going to grab this. Hey, it's the max of all of them. It's 1920. Press Control C, go Control page up twice, and Control Shift V. Hey, the highest one we have is 1920. So hey, we've got our second bonus, and we've done something really cool here. The third bonus we have is how many cells are in the image of the Emerald City. So let's hop over to our Emerald City, and we've got this amazing drawing that we've got down here, and we want to highlight all of it and then figure out what the size is. So coming down here, and my goodness, this was a lot of work. This is slowing things down a little bit here. It's beeping at me. I want to get all the way up here, but I actually have my mouse fully disconnected, and so this is taking a little bit longer. What would have made more sense is coming down to the lower right-hand side and then pressing Shift Control Home. But what we see here is we've got 128 rows by 128 characters. So the total number of cells that we're going to have are going to be our 128 here by our 128 here. So we multiply that together, we're going to get our 16,384. Okay, the next one here, sum the diagonals in each direction of the yellow brick road. Gosh, we can do that with an index function, but what I'd like to do is I'd actually like to hop in, get into this case a little bit first here, and then I'm going to come back to these at the end here. So level 1, Dorothy's dog Toto likes to walk along each individual row of the yellow brick road. Each step taken is on a separate brick, and each brick consists of 2 cells merged together. If Toto walks across each of these Excel rows, what is the total sum of the bricks Toto will walk on? So, hey, we've already done the hard thing of we added up just the odd numbers. Now we're just being asked to add up all of the numbers. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to sum up all of these and highlight everything here. These are all the numbers that Toto will walk across on these particular rows. And we've got that nicely here in column Z. Now, we're going to have to pull a bunch of these. And so I want to use a function called indirect. And what indirect will allow us to do, it'll allow us to type in the name of the sheet and the spots in the sheet to be able to pull in different things. But with indirect, if we've got spaces in here or other special characters, we have to put in additional apostrophes, which I don't really like doing. So I'm going to click on Yellow Brick Road twice and just change the name here to YBR. Okay. And the reason I want to do that is I would like to actually reference, if I want to reference Z25 on here, if I come equal to case varsity and I make it to equal here to Z25 here, the code which you note is equals YBR exclamation point Z25. That's what our code is. What I'm going to use is I'm going to use the indirect function to allow us to write that code. We're going to put in our quotations equals YBR. We're going to put in the exclamation point. We're going to put in Z because everything's in column Z. Close up that, and then we're going to add in what we have right here on our row. And so what that does is it says, hey, take the function YBR exclamation point Z25, put an equal in front of it, give me what it is. It's 2307. If we bring this up here, we're going to get our 2088. Always a great thing. Check it by doing the first one, come back up, check that other one. Hey, if everything's working nicely, we should feel pretty good about it. Control C. One to the left, Control down, one to the right, Control Shift up, and then Control V, and we've put all of these things in here right now. It pulls all of those in really nicely. So we're referencing that location in YBR really fast. So hey, we're in great shape. We have knocked out example 1. Let's move to example 2. Dorothy likes to walk down each column of the yellow brick road. If Dorothy walks straight down these Excel columns, starting from the top row and all the way to the bottom row, what's the total sum of bricks Dorothy will walk on? So let's take a look on here. I'm actually going to copy our data by just making what we have in A32 equal to what we have in A1. And then I'm going to copy this down and across. We've got 28 rows. This is 25 across, but we don't actually need this last one because those are all zeros. So this is what we actually have here. And what we were told is when she walks down A, she'll just hit the 181, the 322, the 191. But when she goes down B, she gets the 181, the 37, the 322. So hey, in B, we can sum up what we've got in this particular column and the column to the left. And that's what she's going to hit each time. Let's take a quick check. Hey, that's precisely what they've got here. So we're going to go control page down, page down. Hey, this works nicely, and we can take that across. Hey, we can take it all the way across here. We can't take it across here because in here, we only get the ones to the far left. And we need to do it this way rather than trying to sum up by pointing to these. When we hold shift in here, oh my gosh, this is just a total mess here. This is one of these gross things of merged cells. I mean, whoever merges cells should be thrown in the Iron Maidens at Tower Bridge, but this is what we've got to deal with. So what we've got in now in row 30 is what we have from each one of these columns. So let's use our same idea of our indirect. We're going to do our indirect of our YBR. And this time what we need is we actually need to have the N in there first. So I'm going to put our ampersand to be able to join the N. And then we're going to, after that, we have everything in row 30. So I'm going to type in 30. And what that does is it gives us what's in sheet YBR in the cell N30. Let's go check up here if this is working. Hey, 5695, things are good. Control C, one to the left, control down, one to the right, control shift up, and then our control V, we've got everything in here nicely. Okay. And so just so we can see this, if I were to take the indirect off of this and just put this into an equals function, what we would see is, hey, this is equal to YBR exclamation point B30, which is precisely the address that we're looking for. Hey, this is YBR N30. This is great. We're in great shape. We've got example 2 set. Let's go to example 3. Dorothy meets a Tin-Woodman who wants to find love. He thinks he loves bricks with numbers that are multiples of a given value. For example, if the multiple is 3, the Tin-Woodsman thinks he loves the numbers 3, 6, 9, but not the numbers 4, 7, and 10. In each row, what is the sum of the numbers that are evenly divisible by the given multiple? So, hey, the ones which are evenly divisible by the given multiple. This looks like another wonderful opportunity for our mod function. But this time our divisor is going to be changing. So what we want is we want things which are evenly divisible by here. And it says to make it a bit easier, the rows are listed in order from 1 to 21. So I'm just going to hop here rather than doing anything special. I'm going to hop in for these multiples. I'm just going to copy them and just stick them over here for the divisor and put it in column AC. I'm going to put 3 for the first one, and I want to use sum product again. I love this sum product function here. So I want to point to this same array here. I want to point to the same array, but now what I want to multiply it by is this thing evenly divisible? Is it evenly divisible by this particular number? So what I'd like to do is I would like to look at the mod, but to make it evenly divisible, the remainder is going to have to be equal to 0. And so what we'd be looking at doing is putting in, hey, the mod of this same spot that we have. I'm using A1 to Y1. I guess we could have just used X1 here. And the divisor we're putting here is 3. And what we want is we want when that's going to be equal to 0. So when that's equal to 0, hey, we want that number. When it's not equal to 0, we don't want that number. And so we're going to want to close this up. But there's one more thing that we want to do. Because if we do this, we're going to just actually get an error. We're going to get 0, which isn't what we're looking for. The thing is that mod of this first one is going to return something which is either true or not true. And to be able to make this into a series of zeros and ones to work nicely for us, we're going to put minus minus in front of this. We're going to open a parentheses and then close a parentheses. And so what this is going to do, it's going to keep us as an array, but the minus minus is going to take the true, and when we put 1 minus in front of it, it turns it to a -1, and takes the false, it takes a 0, puts it to -0 or just 0. But then the other minus keeps it so that, hey, it flips it from true to first a -1 and then back to +1. And so when we put those together, hey, 181 is not divisible by 3, so it doesn't multiply that, 181 by 1, it multiplies it by 0. 44 not divisible by 3, not divisible by 3, not divisible by 3. Hey, this 121 is divisible by 3. The 105 is divisible by 3. 324 is divisible. 225 is, and our 135 are. And so, hey, that gives us that total of 789. If we take a look over here, what have we got? We got 789. We're absolutely in great shape. So let's copy this down to see what we've got. I'm going to take all of these, grab them with Control Shift down, Control C to copy, Control Page up over here, and then Control Shift V to be able to paste them all along here. Let's do a quick check. What have we got here? Hey, our answer is between 399 or 390 and 410, we're at 399. 940 and 960, we're at 957. 340, 360, hey, we're at 342. We are killing it. We're in great shape here. So we're done with example 3. Let's move to example 4. Example 4. Dorothy meets a scarecrow who wants to develop his brain. Before they can get to the wizard, they have to know where they are. What's the leftmost cell address for each of the given starting bricks? For example, brick 181 is in cell A1 to B1, so the leftmost cell address is A1. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, hey, where are these going to be here? So we have this nice array which has everything laid out. We could be using the yellow brick road, but I'm going to be using this here because I think this is going to make it a little bit easier for us. And the first thing which we need to do is we need to find where we can find 266 here, where they showed us here, hey, that's an M25 right up here. Let's go and let's go find ways that we're going to be able to flatten this. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to flatten this using a function called toCol, which is 2 columns for short here, okay? So first we put in the array, and this is what we want to stuff in here. Ignore, well, I'd like to ignore all the zeros. I'm just going to keep all of them and know that I have a 0 every other one here. And then we're going to put in by scan by column. False goes across by row. We actually want to go by column here so we can keep track of everything. I'm going to put in true. And so what we're going to see is that first it takes all of this data and sticks it into one gigantic long column of data, where we start with our 181, then our 0, and our 322, which is our 181, 0, 322. We go down this column first, okay? And what we're trying to find is we want to find that 266. So where is that? Where is that in that particular spot? So what we're going to see if we want to find it in that particular spot here is, actually, you know what? I want to do one other thing, which is going to help us be able to do all of this. So we only have to do this one time, and then we're going to be able to pull in all the data really nicely. To do that, I'm going to start by typing in example 4, because we're right here, we're doing example 4, and right next to it, I'm going to use an XLOOKUP, and we're going to look up example 4 within all of this information. And what we want to return is the desired starting brick. So when we type in example 4, it types in 266. If we were to type in 61, it's going to put in 70. I'm going to go back to example 4. Hey, we've got our 266 because I want to work with our example because this one's a little bit more complicated. Now, we want to figure out where is 266 in here. What we know is the first 28 of these are all in the first column. They're all in column A. The next 28 are in column B. And so if we want to figure out, hey, what column we're in, to figure out what column we're in, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, actually, I want to do something else first. We actually have to find it first. We got to find out which spot, where does it show up? So I'm going to use an X match. I want to look up the 266 in this particular array. And I want an absolute exact match. It's at the 361st spot of going 28, 28, 28, 28, 28. It's the 361st spot is where the 266, the thing which we're looking for, shows up. So which column is that going to be in? Well, I want to round up this 266 divide, not our 266, excuse me. I want to round up, not the 266, that's just a nice large number. I want to round up the 361. That's the spot where it is. That over 28 in 0, that's telling us, hey, we're going to be in the 13th column. We're going to be in the 13th column. For our row, we can take the mod of 361 for 28 of these rows, and we're going to get 25. And we're going to be in really, really a happy spot. Let's go check to see what the address is with that. Our address, we're going to do an address. Our row is 25. Our column is 13. And for our abs number here, let's see. We're putting this on a relative basis. So meaning without the dollar sign. So we're just going to put the 4. Hey, that's M25 right here. We're in really great shape. There's one minor adjustment we actually do need to do. And that one minor adjustment here is if we end up in this bottom row, the column should be fine, but we're going to end up in kind of a weird spot because when we divide by 28, we are going to have no remainder. So I'm just going to put outside, if this is equal to 0, then it's going to be row 28. Otherwise, it's mod of C61, that same formula with a divisor of 28. We close it up twice here. This may not come up, but just to make sure, this should hopefully work out nicely for us. So, hey, M25, that's what we were looking for. But I don't want to have to type in 70, 90, all these other ones. This is where we're going to use a data table. This was the output we're looking for. And I'm just going to make this equal to the output. And to the right, what we're going to do is we're going to put in all of these various different games from 61 through 80. We're going to put all of this information right alongside. Now what we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of these. So I start in the upper left, I press Control Shift down twice, and then I press right while holding the Shift key down. And then I'm going to go under what if analysis. It's Alt AWT, or it's also Alt DT. It's an old 2003 shortcut here, but it's one keystroke less. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave the row input cell blank, but these column input cells, this 61, 62, we want to put this where example 4 was. And then we're going to press enter, and then it's going to give us all of these particular spots. And this is where all of these cells are. So I'm going to press Control C. We've done it once. It gave us all of these outputs here. Control page up, move this back, Control Shift V, and all of a sudden we've got everything in here. If I wanted just to check, I wanted to check to make sure, hey, this is the right thing. Hey, here's the starting brick. I'm going to put those here. And then what I'm going to do, just to have some fun, is I'm going to do an indirect of just this particular cell for each one of them. And hey, if we take the difference, they're all the same. They all worked. Okay. So, hey, that was a quick check. Everything is, we're crushing it. We're doing great. We're done with example 4. So, hey, we're done with example 4. Let's take a look at example 5. Now that Scarecrow knows where he is, he wants to know where he's going. Scarecrow will move along the bricks diagonally from the starting brick downward and to the right towards brick 71. After moving the given number of bricks, what brick number is Scarecrow standing on? Okay, so 266 was in M225 to N25. The next brick down to the right is 211, N26, 026 here. Let's actually look. We've got some visual examples on here. Let's see here. The path. Okay, so we're going down into the right each one. And then what are we looking for here? What brick is Scarecrow standing on at the end? Well, hey, we've got all the starting bricks, and now we've got the movement here. Now, I'm looking, it looks like these starting bricks are actually all the same that we have up above. So, so that's actually really, really cool for us because we have everything. We know where those are. So if we wanted to and we wanted to go quickly, one thing which we could just do is we could just take the movement for each one of them. Um, that'll be fine. Uh, and and yeah, that's an absolutely fine way of doing it. Let's actually just update what we have here to make our life a little bit better here. We got example 4. We pasted everything as values up above, so we're fine. Let's go and instead let's change what we have and change where we're going to look this one up. And let's also pull the movement in here. So I'm going to change our XLOOKUP function. I'm going to still look up this particular value. But now what I want to do is, because we're going to pull this here, it looks like an example 6 and also example 7. Well, no, just examples 4, 5, and 6, we're actually pulling them. So let's pull example 4 and let's highlight all the way down to here. And what I'd like to pull now is I'd like to pull both of these columns so we get the movement column as well. And so it's going to pull in 2 of these things here. At first, this is the movement here that we have of 0. When we're doing example 4, it doesn't do anything. But now let's go example 5, and hey, we pull in our movement. We match originally, because we're still at 266, we match in column 13 and row 25. And we're going to move 3. So where are we going to move? We're going to move down and to the right. So our column's going to go up 1 for each movement, and our row's going to go up 1 for each movement. So the ending spot where we're going to be is we're going to take our 13 plus our 3. We're going to take our 25 plus our 3, and we're going to end up in 1628. If we want to grab the address, hey, still the same formula, we're going to end up in P28. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to point to this particular cell is what I'd like to pull in, and I'd like to change these numbers. Instead of 61 through 80, I want to pull this in. For example 5, I want to pull in 81 through 100. So copying here, put this in, and hey, this is where we're going to end up. Let's double check. This is the location. We want to know what the actual value is in that spot. So what I would like to do is I'd like to pull in an indirect of all of these here, put this next to it. Hey, 168, 183. Hey, we were looking for 168. And this is saying, hey, what do we have in I-19 on here? Which is, hey, our I-19 is 183, where if we were to come back and be 6 away from our 70, let's just quickly check that what we have right here. In our I-19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hey, it's a 6 away from our 70. We're looking great. Let's just take everything that we have. Sorry, I moved a little too quickly there. Let's take everything that we've got here. Control C, bring this over. Control Shift V, we'd be able to drop that in directly here. So, hey, we've got 5 completed. Let's go and let's go get 6. Dorothy meets a cowardly lion who wants to find courage by reaching brick 71. To help him, Dorothy guides him from his starting brick to the end of the row as far right as possible and then guides him down the rest of the column. If he starts on the given bricks, what is the sum of the bricks that he steps on? Include the starting brick and the brick number 71 in your answer here. So we got to start out where, from our starting brick, we got to find where we are. We've got to move all the way to the right and then count all the way down that column, those columns that we have in W and X to be able to add those together. So we need to actually start. Let's start with our example 6. We no longer, so we're going to start in A11. We no longer are moving. We don't have that movement anymore. And we're going to need to pull something else in terms of the data that we're looking for. So, hey, we're going to start in A11. And then what we need to do is then we need to move across. I'm just going to get rid of this data table. Data tables are absolutely wonderful, but they can slow things down. So once we've got something running, it's good just to clean out the table. So if we start in A11, what we want to do is we want to start over here. We want to add absolutely everything from that cell across to the end. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to add everything from this starting address all the way across to the final thing that we have in X of that particular row. So what I would like to do is I'd like to make it just sort of, hey, like the let's make this the end of row spot. Our end of row is just going to be equal to, let's just do X and then add in the row that we're in. That's where we're going for. We're going to add everything from A11, first of all, to X11. So if we add the row, if I want to sum this up, I could sum up the indirect by adding in the A11 and then put in a colon, and then we're going to end up at X11. And if we take a look, hey, that's 1560 is what that's saying here. I was missing one of the parentheses here. And if we're taking a look that we have in this particular row, what do we have? Hey, we got 1560. This is looking pretty good. So that works for this one here. And then what we need to do is we need to add from there down. So we've got to add from, we are going to end up at 8. Then we've got to add the 121, the 272, the 124, the 95, and all of that stuff all the way down to get down to 71. Now, that's totally fine. Let's go and let's try to add those. Let's try to add those up. We know that those are in columns W and X. And so let's do that here. If we have 11, we've already got the last one in 11. We've got to get from 12 all the way to 28. So let's see. What are some ways we could do that? One of the ways we could do that is we know that, hey, that final cell is going to be in X28. And so our final cell is X28. But where is our starting cell going to be? Our starting cell is going to be one row above what we have over here. Our starting cell is going to be, if we were in row 11, hey, the next one's going to be at row 12. It's going to be one past that here. Now, in this case, it's going to start in X, but there could be times where it's going to start in W. And so what we could do here for the column, adding down the column, our final cell is X28, and our start cell is going to be equal to, well, W and the row that we are in plus 1. And we could add that in nicely. But, there's one thing which I'm thinking of is that while we're doing this, we might just need to be careful that if we end up in the last row that we don't like come back and try to add something twice. So, if we put together our column sum, here is our row sum. our column sum is we could just do the sum of indirect from x28 and colon and W12 here. And if we do this up, we close this up, hey, we're going to get 3186 here. This is down the column sum. The one thing which I'm concerned about is that if our row ends up being 28, we're going to be too much here. So I'm just going to do one thing which says, hey, if our row is equal to 28, then 0. Otherwise, add up all of this stuff. And hey, that gets us to 3186. Our total sum, if we add the two of these together, is 4746. Hey, that's what we want. That's what we're interested in. So I'm going to put up here, hey, this is equal to our 4746. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to take in the 101 through the 120 and stick those right here. And then let's put in our data table one more time. Where does the 101 go? It goes into where example 6 is. And this spits out all of the outputs. So I'm going to copy these, and then we're going to hop back and we're going to check to see if the hints actually help us out. Hey, the first one is between 1380 and 1400, 1387. The next one between 1900 and 1921. Hey, we're great here. We're all of these three here at the hints. We're all in there. Our example 6 is looking really, really nice. Okay. So this is a fun way of doing this with indirect here. We could have also played with this by doing this with things like with index functions as well too, for our row sum and our column sum using this information here. We could have done the sum of the index, and we can put this in here, is we'd like to be our index. We could match this in terms of hey, which column we're going to be in and which row we're going to be in to the end of that particular row. If we were to do that, we could say, hey, the array that we're looking for, first of all, but I love what we've done here, but what we could do is we could have put, hey, in this particular array here, our row number that we're referencing is this particular row number, and the column number that we want is the first one. And then where we want this to go to, we want this to go to the one at the very end where we get the index of this particular array again. Our row number, still this particular row number, and the column number at that point we want is 24. And if we do that out, that's actually going to pull in all the stuff in the 11th row, starting from that first particular column. And that's going to sum that all up. If we want to go down the right, we could do the same thing as we've done in here to be able to sum up this general idea, where we're going to again do that. If the row is equal to 28, then we're going to give a 0. But if not, what we could do is, hey, we could take the index, and what we're interested in pulling in is this particular one again. The row that we want is this row plus 1, and the column we want the 1 second from the end. So we would take the 23rd, and then where we want to be at the very end is actually effectively just our 71 here to our x59. And that's going to sum up. Oh, we got to put a sum on all of these things here. That pulls out all of particular that particular array. We want the sum around it here. So it gives us our 3186. Just another way that we could have pulled it rather than using our indirect, we could use our index to be able to make references in here. So hey, we've done 6. Let's go to 7. Very hard. Dorothy has been gifted beautiful silver slippers from Glinda the Good Witch. To try these out, she wants to walk on every brick on this section of the yellow brick road. In each game, Dorothy starts on A1, B1 and walks to the right, and then she steps down to X2, Y2. Then she heads back left to B2, C2. So let's see. So she comes out here. Then she walks down and then she walks back the other direction. Okay, great. So she reports this back and forth for a given number of steps. What is the total sum of the bricks Dorothy has walked on? So we want to go first from the left to right, then go down and go from right to left. Hey, let's actually redo this data. There's a really cool way of doing this, which I'm excited to show you here. This first one, I'm just going to make this equal to what we have over here. I'm going to point to the whole array so we get the right number. Here, this is what our first array looks like. This is what our first set of steps goes to. The next thing which we want is we want this one, but we want it in reverse. So how are we going to get it in reverse here? We're going to use a super function called SORTBY. We're going to sort this particular array. And what we want to do is we want to sort it by the column in reverse order. So we're going to take the column of this same array and we want to sort it in descending order. So if we do this, we should see, hey, 158, 0, 198, which is 158, 0, 198. And this is awesome for us. So the first row, we want it just like this. The second row, we want it in the opposite order. So I'm going to copy both of them together and bring them down, 28. And then what we've got is, hey, we're going to have, this is the first row, here's the second row, here's the third, here's the fourth, in the order that we're actually stepping on them, because we've flipped the order using this sort by. Now what we want to do is we want to put these into Dorothy's steps. I'm going to use 2 column again, just because I think it's fun here. I'm going to point to this array again. Not going to skip the zeros here, but this time I want to scan by the rows because that's the order that Dorothy's stepping in. She steps in the 181, 0, 44, 332. And then what we see after she resets, having hit that 135, 0, 158. Hey, that's what we see right here. That's just what we want. Hey, I want to make this even cooler because every other one is a 0 and I don't want to be, we've got this laid out so nicely here. I don't want to have to deal with this. I'm going to use another function, which is called WRAPROWS. This is our vector of our 2 column, and we're going to wrap it across 2 columns. So WRAPROWS, we're going to go across those 2 columns. And so we're going to get our 181, then our 44, our 332, and all of this stuff super nicely in here. And so all we need to do is keep track of, let's see, how many she actually steps on. So the first one, she steps on 210. Let's make another data table. Okay, let's go make another data table. Heck, we don't even have to. Our step count is so good. We've got such a great thing which we can do here. Let's do this here with the step count. I'm just going to pull them in directly. I'm going to pull in both the example and what we have on here. I'm going to copy that just right to the right here. And I'm going to use a function, sort of older function here, but it is a wonderful one in this case. It's called offset. It's a volatile function. So people don't use it all the time because it recalculates quite a bit, and as a result, it can slow things down. But it does some really cool things here. I want to start to the first spot where Dorothy always starts, which is here. It says AA65 here. I'm not going to move this anywhere. I want to start at this particular spot here. But for the height, I want to make this 210 high. And the width, we just want this as 1. And then what it's going to do is it's going to pull in a vector, which is all 100 and, or sorry, in this case, all 210 on here. We want to sum this up. Now, one thing is we got to make sure we lock this reference when we're doing it this way, when we're not doing a data table approach. So we can copy it down nicely. I'm going to sum all of these here. And what do we see? We see 34,119. Okay. I'm going to copy this down across these here. We're going to see 4405, 50,882 here. And so I'm going to copy these, bring these across. Let's check how we're doing here. Hey, the first one between 4,400 and 4,500. The next one between 5,800 and 5,900. 50,800, 50,900. We're right here. This all looks great. And we have pulled this in super nicely. So, hey, we're good. There are 2 bonus questions left. Let's go get those 2 bonus questions here. The next question says, sum the diagonals in each direction of the yellow brick road. What is the highest possible sum across possible diagonals? Be sure to include downwards and upwards diagonals. Okay, so we have everything nicely in here. I'm going to copy this over. I don't want to destroy anything here. I'm going to click move or copy, create a copy. We're going to make YBR2 so we can just work in here and not worry about it. I'm going to wipe out the things which I don't think we need. So I'm going to wipe out everything to the end. I'm going to press Control Shift End on here, clear that out. Heck, I'm going to clear out what we have over here. I just want to keep this stuff here of where these cells are. And I want to give us some room. I want to make sure I don't hit anything else. So I'm going to press Control X and move this over and down a little bit just so we've got some room. Actually, I'm going to move it over a little bit more than that. I'm going to start in AD. I'm going to get really far away. I'm going to start in AD 51. Just because I'm going to do some things which I don't want to make sure I hit anything else. Because we want the diagonals. We're going to have a bunch of diagonals that we're going to need to pull in. We could pull in this 181 plus the 37 plus the 87, but gosh, we don't want to type that out instead. We're going to use our friendly index function one more time to be able to pull in these diagonals really, really well. Now, I'd like to point to this entire array, and I'd just like to pull diagonals. For the row number, what I'm going to do is we're going to put in a sequence. We're going to put in a sequence which is going to go from 1 to 28. So we're just going to put in 28 in here because we got 28 rows. For our columns, I'm also going to put in 28. I know we don't actually even go that far. But if we do this, what you're going to see when we put this in here is, hey, the first numbers are 181. The next ones are 37. The next ones are 87, are 255, are 262. This is pulling in the diagonals. The last 4 are refs because we have something which is 28 by 24, not by 28 by 28. So I'm going to wrap out around this index. I'm going to wrap an if error. This if error says, okay, if there's an error, just return 0. And so when we get outside of our realm, we're going to pull in a bunch of zeros. And so what this is going to do is this is going to pull in what we need. Now, we want the sum of all of this, and this is going to give us the sum of that diagonal starting from the upper left corner and going down. But we want to make sure we get all the diagonals going down and to the right. So I'm going to copy this down a bunch until we're not hitting anything anymore. I'm going to copy it up a bunch. Notice I did not lock the array in this particular case, because when we start the 293, we're actually going to start up higher and pull things over here. That's totally fine. And this is going to give us our down diagonals really nicely. We also need to get our up diagonals. Let's use that same concept that we have over here. Now I'm going to press F2, Shift Home to highlight everything within this particular cell so I don't have to retype it. Then press Control C, Enter to leave. And then since it's on the clipboard directly, I can press Control V and it still points to this same particular cells without it moving. But I want to change the order that we're going into. With our index, the first thing it asks us for the row. But rather than going from 1 to 28, what I'd like to do now instead is I'd like to flip this thing. And so I want to have 28 rows in one column, but now I want to start at 28 and I want to go down by 1 each time. Why do we do this? It allows us to flip the order that we're in. Now, we're going to see a 0 here because we start at 0, 0, 0, 0 if we go this direction. But let's copy this up and down. In that case, it was down and up. And that's going to give us all of the different ways that it goes up on these diagonals. It's this really cool way of pulling this in. What we're interested in is we want the maximum. We want the maximum that we can get, which is 4606. So let's copy that, put this in here. We got our bonus 4. Hey, 4606 is what we're looking for. Okay, so hey, we're in great shape. We've got one thing left. How many 3-brick horizontal triangles of yellow bricks that all touch each other add up to an even number? So we want all the things which touch each other. So we'd want like the 181, the 44, the 37. Let's come over here and use some of the things which we've built already. We've built this down here really nicely of our 181, 0, 0, 37, 44, 0. If we grab this each time, we're going to be all right. So let's do that, and let's do that over here. I'm going to sum up over here this 181, the 0, the 44, and that's going to give me the upper left. And I want to get all the way across so we hit this, this, well, not all the way that far across. So we hit just this group, but no more. And to do that, we're going to have to go across 22 cells. 22 cells to do so. So I'm going to press Control C to copy. And I want to come across 22 and I want to come down. I want to make sure I don't go too far here, but I go far enough. I'm in 27, which I think is actually going to be the right amount. I'm going to press Control in the left bracket, and that shows us, if we tab through, hey, that's as far as we want to go. We want to get just to that last one. So press F5 to get all the way back. These are the sets that we're actually interested in. And let's double check. We're going to come over here. Hey, that goes to this set, no further. And this one goes to the, the lower bottom one and no further. So, hey, we've got just what we needed. Okay. And checking that size is fine, because sometimes we might go too far and say, hey, look, we're getting some which are hanging off and I'm only getting 2 bricks. It's what we would have gotten if we went any further to the right or any further down. And the question was, how many 3-brick ones that all touch each other add up to an even number? So we need to figure out, okay, how many of these are actually going to be an even number? So, hey, we could use is even is a fun one to use, where we could use is even if we point to all of this. Is even and arrays don't work together so nicely. The trick about this, if we put in our 2 minus signs in here, it'll give us all of our trues and our falses, and it will work a little bit better with arrays. If we come up, we want to make all of these positive again here. So we can sum them up. So we're going to put our 2 minuses in front of that, turns our trues into ones, our falses into zeros. And if we were to sum all of these up, If we sum all these up, we'd get equal to 303. We could do all of that. That would work out really nicely for us. If we wanted to do it without blowing this out all the time, heck, let's use our mod function again. We could use our mod. We're going to point to all of these here. And we actually want to keep track of the even numbers. So if we just did this with mod 2, we'd want all the ones which are zeros. The quick way to actually do it, which is really kind of nice here, is if we make this mod +1, where it adds ones to all of them, it's going to make the even numbers show up as ones. It's going to make the odd numbers show up as zeros. And so we could wrap this with a sum around the outside of it. We do the sum around the outside of it here. We get a cool way, so we get to our 303. We come on back here. We put this on bonus 5. We've hit bonus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've hit every single one of these. We're in great shape. We make sure we save this. We submit this up here, and that's how we do it. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope we had a lot of fun getting to use indirects, mods, some products here, the data table approach. And I hope all of these help you out in the next round and your future rounds with the Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge.